Hey guys, this is your host Eric. Today we are going to watch action genre movie called Savage Salvation. Spoilers ahead, turn on your subtitle. I greatly appreciate your support. Enjoy the video. At the start of the film, we are taken to a small town in America where we are told that in recent years, many people in this town have become drug addicts owing to the rise of dealers. We were introduced to a sheriff named Mike around this time. Mike might have had a particularly bad morning because he had just lost his son. When Mike discovered his son's body, it was discovered that he had simply overdosed due to illegal substances. The action shifts to a man named Shelby John, who is buying drinks for his girlfriend at home. When he arrived at his house, he was greeted by his girlfriend, Robbie. As usual, we learn that John and Robbie are addicts. They flew together at night. One day, John and Robbie were seen casually conversing on the terrace of their home here. Rob felt compelled to give up their addiction and live normally with the others. But, as John pointed out, we had tried to stop. Rob stated that she wishes to marry, have a child, and live normally with John. After much deliberation, they finally decided to abstain from the illegal drugs that had been ruining their lives. Despite the fact that they knew it would be difficult, they then discarded all of the items and equipment they had used to fly. In the days that followed, it was discovered that they could still tolerate withdrawal, but after a long enough period of time, they experienced withdrawal symptoms that were excruciatingly painful, beginning with vomiting, convulsions, anxiety, depression, and a desire to commit suicide. Every day they continue to feel pain, but their determination appears to be such that they truly want to quit their addiction at any time. When Robbie realizes she can't take it any longer, she plans to return to buy illegal drugs, but John stops her. John was confident that they would be able to complete everything. In short, they've gotten through it all. Robbie attended his first church service, while John went to a jewelry store to purchase a wedding ring. After purchasing the ring, John met a man named Elvis by chance. Elvis was known to have been the one who sold illegal drugs to John and Robbie here. Elvis inquired if John was purchasing goods for someone else. John stated that he and Robbie had come to a halt and asked Elvis to stay away. On the other hand, we will meet the gangsters who have been in charge of drug trafficking in this city. Coyote is the gang's leader, and this is him. Coyote killed one of his men at the time because he was caught stealing his illegal drug in the evening. John and Robbie have been seen and are very happy. They intend to visit Robbie's family and inform them that Robbie and John will be married soon. They go to Robbie's house a few days later, which happens to be his nephew's birthday. When they arrived, they were greeted warmly by Robbie's uncle, Peter. So far, Peter had been supporting Robbie's family, and Peter was also known as a devout Christian. After the birthday celebrations were over, Robbie's family gathered here for lunch. Rob stated that she and John were planning to marry soon. Robbie's mother was dissatisfied because John should have first asked her permission. John apologized immediately to Robbie's mother and promised to be a good husband for Rob. Finally, her mother gave her permission for John to marry Rob. In the days leading up to John's wedding, Peter was certain that John was a good person, and he invited Robbie to have fun. Robbie once stated that he really wanted to be baptized before getting married. When John heard this, he immediately agreed to Robbie's wishes. The next day, John was seen leaving for home, and Robbie would follow because she was still at home with her mother when John arrived. He was taken aback because Elvis was already present. Elvis announced that he had something new that Shirley, John, and Robbie would enjoy. John became irritated and threatened Elvis, threatening to beat him if he dared to offer that illegal stuff to John and Robbie again. After Elvis left John's house and he has accidentally ran into Robbie's car, Robbie immediately asked, "What is Elvis' business to meet John?" Elvis lied when he said John had ordered new clothes for him. Hearing this rub, John felt lied to because he thought John was still a drug user here in secret. Elvis gave Robbie free and new illegal items because all this time Rob was the best consummate Robbie, who was still disappointed in John accepting the items without any. When she arrived at John's house, John inquired as to why Rob was behaving strangely, despite the fact that tomorrow was Robbie's christening day here. Robbie seemed to be covering up all his problems and claiming everything was fine. When John approached Rob on the house's terrace the next day, he was astounded to learn that Rob had died as a result of an overdose. John was very sad and depressed because their wedding day is the day after tomorrow, and John still took Rob to do the baptism, given that it was Robbie's last. Here, the pastor suggested that John be baptized as well, but John said that if he didn't want to be baptized now because he had some sins that he needed to pay for, then he went home to get a gun because he was planning revenge on Elvis and didn't have a weapon. Nothing. He only brought a nail gun in the end. It is revealed here that John is a former Special Forces member. Mike and his men arrived not long after John had left Sheriff. The sheriff had apparently heard about John's girlfriend's death and knew that John would undoubtedly be brutal in his own way. Unfortunately, the sheriff was unable to locate John at the time because he had already left his home in the evening. When John arrived at Elvis' house, Elvis was about to open the door. After Elvis was cornered, John abruptly told his wife and Elvis's chili to leave the house. Why is Elvis still giving that illegal stuff to Rub? John wondered. Elvis responded that he had a sales target of selling 1 kilogram of illegal substances in a month because there were no buyers this month, so he was forced to seduce Ruby so that Robbie would become an addict again. Then John inquired as to where Elvis obtained these items. Elvis initially refused to tell, but because John continued to torture him, Elvis eventually admitted that he obtained the illegal drugs from a dealer named Darius. After Elvis said Darius' name and then the address where Darius lived, John killed him without hesitation. Then John ran away with some of Elvis' guns. Not long after that, the sheriff arrived at Elvis's house after Elvis's wife called the cops. The sheriff and several of his men discovered several kilos of illegal drugs that Elvis was planning to distribute. Behind that, John went to a hotel because Elvis had informed him that Darius was staying there. Once inside, John immediately went in and hit Darius' right-hand man. This is Darius, the man who has been supplying Elvis with illegal goods. Darius inquires as to what John desires. John responded by threatening to kill all of the city's drug dealers. Hearing this, Darius expressed his desire to leave the company, but his boss would not allow him to do so. John inquired as to who Darius' boss was. Darius' right-hand man responded by saying that Darius should not reveal it. That's why John shot Darius' right-hand man's leg right away. Until, at the end, Darius revealed that his boss's name was Coyote, and that he now resided in our remote village with his gangsters. Darius also advised John to kill Coyote before Coyote killed John and himself here. John does not murder Darius and proceeds to leave. Following that, you can see the sheriff and his man walking to the hotel after learning about John's mess. When they arrived, the sheriff attempted to question Darius's right-hand man in the ambulance. Where is the man who shot him in the leg? The sheriff inquired. Because the right-hand man did not respond, the sheriff immediately began torturing him. Finally, the right-hand man stated that John was on his way to Coyote headquarters, which was located in a remote village. John arrived at Coyote headquarters shortly before carrying out the attack. First, John kept an eye on them. Coyote was seen killing one of his men, who was thought to be a traitor. Meanwhile, beneath the headquarters, a car scene is about to send it. John killed the driver until it was discovered that he had managed to stop the car in the middle of the road without hesitation. The car exploded after John threw some grenades at it. Following that, John entered the headquarters area in secret via the back road here. Without a doubt, finished them all, John killed the gangster members of Coyote's men one by one until he was able to corner Coyote. However, just as he was about to fire, John discovered that he had run out of bullets. Then they got into a fight, and Coyote chose to flee into the forest. Here, John did not remain quiet. He grabbed the weapon that was lying nearby and went after Coyote. Shortly, while John and Coyote were still chasing each other in the forest, the sheriff arrived with one of his men. After an hour, Coyote attempted to contact the big boss who had been working with him the entire time. But John snatched Coyote's phone, which surprised him because the mastermind of all drug trafficking in this city was unexpected. He could tell when John was about to kill. Suddenly, the sheriff appeared, brandishing a gun. The sheriff begged John to put an end to the violence. "Allow me to handle the Coyote." When John was about to lose it, one of Coyote's men appeared and shot the sheriff's men. Fortunately, John was able to kill him, and the sheriff was forced to shoot Coyote for attempting to resist. The sheriff and John then led the sheriff's men out of the forest. After leaving the forest, John ran into a local who happened to be passing by. John also requested that the sheriff's men be taken to the hospital. The sheriff will bring his men here, while John will bring all drugs in the city to the mastermind. Shortly after, I finally met the mastermind behind all of this, who turned out to be Peter, John's uncle. John couldn't shake the feeling that Peter, whom he mistook for a religious figure, was actually the biggest dealer. On one occasion, Peter secretly took a gun and shot John, resulting in a fight between them. When Peter was cornered, John immediately injected drugs into his body, causing Peter to experience the same sensations as Robbie. After Peter dies, John visits the Reverend because he wishes to be baptized in the same river as Robbie. We really appreciate you watching. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel with the notification bell because it is really important for us. Thank you.